my spooky friends. This is John, your host of Dairyland Frights, the spooky podcast that covers everything paranormal, mysterious, and creepy, not only in the Midwest, but beyond. And the streak, I am so on a streak. I'm like undefeated, and I tend to keep it that way. I have a great guest with me, Raven Willow, on the podcast. She graciously accepted to come on. She is a psychic and a medium, which we'll get into a little bit more about her. But thank you so much, Raven, for coming on the podcast.
Thanks, John. This is amazing. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I love having mediums on. You guys have great stories, have great...
It's that time of year.
Yeah, and it's spooky time, which I'm sure is kind of like your Christmas. Or maybe you get a lot of Christmas time.
Yeah, could it just be this season all year round? I would, yeah.
Right?
The only holiday that matters to me is Samhain. Like, yeah.
So one of the things I always ask mediums, because I'm always interested in, is like, how did you get into this? Like, how did you first discover you had a gift? If you want to call it that, you can call it something else if you want to.
Well, it's a gift, but from a very, very young age. I still remember dreams that I had as like a 2-year-old. I'm very bizarre on this out, but I saw spirits from a very early age, and like when you're telling your mom there's a monster in the closet, there's a monster in the freaking closet. So, and the most prevalent thing that happened to me, other than just random spirits coming, when I was very young, probably like 9 or 10, my great grandmother had died, and I knew her, but I didn't spend a lot of time with her because she had Alzheimer's and was being taken care of by people and all of those kinds of things. So I knew who she was, but I just didn't spend a lot of time with her. When she passed, and I was just laying in my bed, trying to fall asleep, or whatever kids do, disobey their parents. But there was this, all of a sudden, this like massive cardboard box showed up like in the corner of my room right by my bed. And she was in it, and her hair was like sticking up out of it. And like, I just sat there in the corner of my bed with like everything over me, even though I knew it was her. Like, I was terrified. Like, I was a young child. And like, yeah, my mom is very gifted. My dad was very gifted, my grandma, but they also grew up with religion, not to diss anybody that do your own thing. But that kind of teaches you like, this stuff isn't real. You don't dabble in that stuff. It's dark. It's, whatever. So they kind of suppress their gifts. So it's basically in it alone. So this went on for like months, and she finally just disappeared. And after I, became older and have gone on this journey and looking back on it, she didn't understand that she had died, and she's presenting herself in a box because she's in a coffin. And she's like, what happened to me? And she was asking for my help. But as a kid, you're like, why? Yeah, it was just terrifying.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, when did you, a lot of mediums have told me they've kept it secret from their parents, from their relatives, like you said, from people. And I can't think of a better word, and if you can, please tell me. When did you like come out? When did you finally just say, enough? I'm a medium. I can, I can see, I can hear, I can, whatever you want to say. When did you finally say that to people?
Well, like everybody, I had to go through like a learning and growing process throughout life, and like find your own voice and your self-esteem, and not get in bad relationships. Like, empaths especially, we attract negative people because they're like attracted to us like a magnet. So I had to go through that learning experience, and then once I stepped out of that and was like, heck with that, and the heck with this, and and just stepped into myself. From that point on, I was like, nobody's going to tell me what to do or say or how to be. Like,
Good
I'm
for
just
you.
going to be my like freaky self. And if you don't like it, then you don't
Yeah.
have to be around me.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one thing that ties into something I always say. You got to love yourself first before you
Yeah.
love other people. I
Oh,
know it
yeah.
sounds corny and cliche, but it's true.
Yeah.
You have to say,
You
I'm
have
a
to be
weirdo.
selfish with yourself. And that,
Yeah.
but in the end ends up projecting love in a healthy way to yourself and everybody around you so that you can be of help to people.
Yeah. Yes. And like, I'm a super nerd. I'm a weirdo. I have extremely dark
Fry
humor,
that
Raven. Like,
freak flag. I love it.
Love it. I'll say things where people will just go like this.
Yeah.
And like my friends who have known me for a long time, they'll just like, he's kidding. You like get his sense of humor. Like he's joking.
Yeah.
He's not going to do that. And you know, like I'm fascinated with serial killers. Like I'm like trying to figure out why they do
Why
that.
they do what they do.
It's really
yeah.
weird. And we've had two of the heavyweights here in Wisconsin where I live, Ed Gein and Jeffrey Dahmer.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So
You're
we've had
going
two
big
of the
time. Yeah.
big time. And you know what's interesting to me is, and this is something I've always wanted to try to figure out. I would love to get all my psychic friends, because you're a spooky friend now, to go in Plainfield, where Ed Gein used to have his home, is now a barren lot. The house burned down. They were going to try to make it into, of all things, Raven, a museum. I'm not kidding. They were. But
don't
it
bring people there and subject them to that. Yeah.
But anyway, what I love to do is get all my medium and my psychic friends to come with me to that lot and see what they feel. Like,
I wouldn't be able to get anywhere near there. I would be like puking and doubled over. Because I'm such a strong empath. All of that negative energy is just overwhelming. Like, if I have to go to someone's house to like cleanse it or whatever, and it's like completely taken over by things, like I'm just like puking and doubled over. It's instantly. It has like a physical effect on me. So yeah.
Wow. So let's talk about that. Let's get right into it. When people reach out to you and say, hey, my grandma died. Let's use grandma again. My grandma died. I was really close to her. I lived with her in the final years of her life. And I want to tell her I love her. I didn't get a chance to. Maybe you were at work. Maybe you're on a trip, whatever. And she died. And when people reach out to say that to you, what is like your first response to them, being that you're such a strong empath? And you're probably going to, like you said,
I would probably already see her and be like communicating with her. So, and making them aware. One of my special gifts, whatever you want to call it, is helping other people unlock their gifts and then learn how to use them safely so that they're not, hurt. But they probably have gifts. They just haven't like acknowledged them for whatever reason. Yeah. So she's communicating with somebody she feels can hear her, but they've just tuned it out, whether they're afraid to go there or whatever the reason is. So they're not picking up on the message.
Yeah.
And maybe they're just feeling her a little bit and like, oh, what is that? And like immediately like shutting the door and like, I don't want to go there. So yeah.
So what would you do? So would you bring that person, meet them somewhere and be like, okay, I can do this for you, but I want to train you to do it so you can talk to her. Okay. Yeah. And how do you go about doing that? Like, where do you start?
So we go through, I'm a Reiki master and like energy psychology. So that's like tracing meridians in your line.
Can you explain that to my spooky friends, please? What that means, Reiki master? Yeah.
So Reiki is just clearing all of your chakras and clearing your energy and putting you in like a relaxed state so that it kind of trains your mind to learn how to meditate if you haven't gotten there yet. And it also trains your mind to go to that relaxed state instead of being in a stressed state a lot. And then it also unlocks you while because you're laying on a table, There's either sound bowls playing or something going on. I had tuning forks for each chakra that opens them. You're opening yourself too. And I pretty much say I'm in everything. So I can pretty much peel a person's mind apart like an onion and just see everything. So I'm tapping into their subconscious. I could see things that happen to them, what they're holding on to. So we're talking about it as we're going through it, and it can get really intense for people. So you have to be able to read that person. Like, I'm not here to like cause somebody to have like a mental breakdown. It's like, no, we're going to stop now and let's drink some water and, just adjust yourself and you're okay and you're safe. And so I'll bring them out of it because I don't want to have somebody to have like a mental collapse over anything. But yeah.
That is amazing. If you went into my mind, good luck. There's some weird stuff in there.
Well, I remote view, so we can do that too. Yeah.
I better clean my mind up here. I better get rid of all these stuff that I have in there. That could be weird. So have you ever been with a person and I don't know, you're trying to read them and everything like that and you can't read them? Has that ever been
Yeah. If people just have too many walls up in their mind because of severe trauma or whatever it is, and you can even feel it because I'm an empath, I'm an energy reader, so I could even feel if their heart is blocked. I could tell if they're going to have a heart attack from something, like any illnesses that are going to come up. So if people just have a ton of walls, like bricked up mind because they just don't want to face it, you're not getting in there. So yeah.
And that's the key I've got from other mediums have told me. Like, if you're not open, if you're not going to be open and you're going to fight back, there's no point to it.
Yeah.
We'll just move on, right?
Right.
So
I've had clients that I've had to like dismiss because they aren't doing healthy things to help their life, no matter how much I'm trying to tell them what's going on. Like, I kind of treat my clients like HIPAA. I don't talk about them, but I tried to read her mind while she was in a Reiki session with me, and there was nothing there. But then I moved to her heart and just put my hand over her heart, and she had literally created a PK manifestation in her heart. And I'm an artist, so I drew it out for her. And I was like, you're either not believing me, don't think I'm worth my weight in salt, or not taking this seriously, because this is going to kill you. And she just wouldn't get out of these patterns and things that she was doing. So I'm like, I'm not going to do this anymore because you're just harming yourself, and this is kind of pointless. Yeah.
Absolutely. So a few questions before I get to them, though. How about telling me your first paranormal experience? Like, have you had any, and when did it happen?
Well, I've had them my whole life. So, and I'll just be like walking somewhere. Like, I love nature and go on hikes and all that stuff. Like, I live in Utah. It's a nature capital besides Colorado of the West.
Yeah.
But I'll just be out walking and almost like run into somebody. I'm like, "Whoa, hey," and then they're gone. So it's everywhere, all around me, all the time. I could sense the energy of the land and the people that are still there, like especially native people. It's kind of my mission on Earth to heal and restore the land. So I call them out to me and I tell them why I'm there and we need to heal this place and bring in the elementals to heal the land and the creek and the things. And so I work with them as well, not just to like help them, but actually work with them.
Yeah. And that's fascinating to me because I talked to another psychic who says like they have like a spirit guide. Like they go in these, they're from North Carolina. So in North Carolina, there's a lot of mysticism and a lot of beautiful places to go. And he talked about meeting his spirit guide, and talking about how sad they were about the world, and how the
Yes.
land's been treated, and
Yes.
and he's
Yeah.
absolutely like, yeah, I agree. I'm trying to help. We're trying to help.
I have a ton of guides. You like pick up more and more guides as you go along, and I communicate with the universe too. So there's universal beings that are your guides. There's like ex-family members that are your guides. Like both of my parents are with me, my grandparents, all that stuff. But then just guides, and your guides have known you. If you don't believe in past lives, that's cool, but they're with you throughout all of your lifetimes. So they're very familiar to you. You just have to awaken yourself to their presence again.
Right. And one of the things, I'm just reading your website. By the way, my spooky friends, I will put her website and all her links on the show notes, so you can go and, please help Raven any way you can, reaching out to her. She loves the help, I can tell already. And she, it's a few bucks here and there for peace of mind. It's definitely worth it. Yeah. So one of the things I always love, it says you have connections with all energies on Earth and with all beings all over the universe. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. What do you mean by that?
So I do Akashic records reading as well.
Okay.
And it's a thing that you have to kind of get certified in. My teacher was actually, like an original from India, and I went through his certification. And they call them soul contracts. So you literally write your own soul contract for every life and put in there, and there's possible futures. Of course, you can make your future whatever you want it to be. You can change the future. So knowing your story throughout the universe helps you adjust to this life and learn what you're supposed to do and why you're here and how you can help people and the things that are still impacting you. Yeah. Because if you think about your soul or your energy, whatever you want to call it, it's collecting knowledge and learning from all of those lifetimes, even past lives on Earth, and it still retains that. So you need to access that knowledge and understand what it means.
And how do you do that? Like, how do you go about doing that? Other than years of practice and study and everything.
Yeah.
Where would you start?
Yeah. Akashic record reading, like you have to be able to remote view in the first place. So you ask, and you have to be like in a good mental state, obviously, but you ask the masters of the Akashic records if you can enter, and then I have to get somebody's full name and date of birth. I ask for a picture of just their face showing their eyes. That's my thing. But you only need their name and date of birth. And you tell the masters that information, and this is who I'm here for. This is what they want to know. This is what I'm asking for this person. It presents itself differently for different people, but they'll bring me the information on like scrolls or in books. I see it as a giant library because I'm kind of a history nerd, and so that's the way it presents itself to me. And then I look at it, I read it, but I'm also receiving like images in my head at the same time. I have a thing with pine cones. It's from a universal past life, but pine cones present themselves to me. And I was just out on a hike, a walk, and somebody had built a spiral. I always walk the spiral because it's like cleansing your energy. But people had left like crystals and just different things of offering in the center, and that somebody had filled this pine. It's a real pine cone, but they had like filled it with like some kind of concrete or something. And I was, but it was like calling to me like loudly, and I was like, "This is supposed to be mine," but I'm like, I can't take this. Like, I felt weird taking it. But I ended up being told, no, this is for you. Like, so I took it, but then I brought some crystals back and like put something else in its place. But I literally hold on to that because pine cones are knowledge in the ancient world, if you study history at all. Right. So I hold on to that, and I'm literally just like writing with like a Sharpie, like pages and pages of information. And then I put it all in a fancy PDF with like links and information for people to reference, because I don't want them to forget what I said. I want them to be able to study and like have that material. So I put a lot of time into people's readings and making sure they're really professional and that they have reference material. And yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm a history nerd too. Not to get off on a tangent, I would love to teach history, but I'd be one of those history teachers where the kids would come home and be like, "Mr. Radke is a really weird guy. He loves it too much." I'd be like dressing like George Washington.
Anytime there's a history, anything, I'm like, "Where? Let's go see it." Like, yeah.
And what people don't understand, and I explain this ad nauseum to all my coworkers and friends, is the things that happened 100, 200, 1,000 years ago. We're doing the same damn thing. We're doing the same thing, but it's just in a different context. Politics, money, war, relationships, on and on and on and on and on. And no one's going, it's like, you have to learn, if you've been in a bad relationship and those people where you might have a friend and they're dating that same guy or same girl or whoever, and you're like, don't you learn? You're in the same negative relationship.
Those are people that don't have a lot of self-esteem, and I've been there and been down that road.
Speaking of that, has anyone ever come up to you and been like, Raven, I'm so in love with so and so, you got to make me a love potion or something that I can attract that person? Has that ever happened?
Like, I don't do things like that for people. Like, I do spell work because, I mean, I've had a lot of past lives as witches and like in hoodoo as a slave and different things, so it's ingrained in me. But I don't do things like that for people because I want them to learn how to help themselves. And it's not fair to put influence on a situation like that, especially if the other person doesn't want it. Like, I don't interfere with people's lives like that. Yeah.
And I love that. That's what all my mediums have said. They've all said, like, we're not here to, it's not some cheesy movie where like, you drink it. That's in the movies. And have you ever met a person that you feel is like true evil? Like, you met this person, went, whoa.
I've seen their faces entirely change. And then say, whoa, and step back. Like, their eyes go black and it's not their face anymore. Wow. And it's like, okay, here we go.
And what, without getting into too many details, but like, what happened? What something you did to change them, or they changed? So what happened?
Anybody that's just in that mindset, they're clearly not in control of their thought processes. And obviously been through a lot in life for whatever reason, but they're also carrying that energy from other lives. So I just avoid, like, there's really nothing I can do to help that person unless they want to help themselves. And like, you're not going to get somebody like that wants to be like, I want to sit here and introspect and like, look at me. It just doesn't happen. So I'm like, I'm just like, I'm out of here. Like, no, like, not going there.
So this is something that I always found really fascinating. You read from time to time and you see from time to time, whether a medium, whether whoever, and they meet someone and they're like, you're possessed by like 10 demons. Have you ever come across something like that? I mean, I just find that a little, I don't know.
I've come across people with a lot of attachments, and their home is infested and they're infested, and it happens. Sadly, it happens a lot when people that have severe mental illness, like schizophrenia or whatever, or poor people that get like drug addicted, and obviously that takes you out of your normal state of mind. You're making yourself vulnerable, and that's exactly what they want. And then you're just easy pickings to latch onto.
But people, from what I've heard, and please correct me if I'm wrong, you have to want to let the demon in. You have to bring them in. Is that true, or is that not true?
I've found that that's not true. It's like a predator and prey. So they're picking off the weakest of the herd, and they just latch onto you. So, like, I just lost my mom last year. Like, I've been going through a lot. I've been attacked a couple of times and latched onto, and I have to fight to get that off of me and get it out of me and get it out of my house and get it away from me and put the bubbles around me and all of that. So it's not like specific to people. It's just they are looking for anybody that's in a vulnerable state, just like a predator with prey.
That's super interesting. And if someone was to reach out to you, and we kind of talked about they got to help themselves, you got to help them with everything. But let's say they're at like wit's end, they're just at the end of their rope. What would you do to help them?
So I would definitely put them in a Reiki session, which we already talked about, and I would be like reading them and targeting those negative energies and helping them release them, but they have to release them. So I'm working to help them and I can pull them out, but they have to release them. So it's like a recognition.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Like we talked about, you got to love yourself first. You got to come to whatever findings through meditation, through maybe therapist.
Puppy saying hi.
Therapy. Puppy.
Hi, Willie. Okay, Bug, sit down. There we go.
No, we did not conjure the puppy, people. Raven did not conjure the puppy. It'd been pretty cool, though. She did. She's got some puppies there. We always love puppies. So let me ask you this. What do you think? This is a big topic I've talked to other people about just in general. Free will. A lot of people have said there is no free will. Your life is determined. There's nothing you can do about it. Well, other people have said to a certain point. What is your belief on just free will?
Just especially with doing Akashic records reading, you determine your future. So you can make your future whatever you want, but that doesn't mean that there's not those things that are trying to get in there and stop you, these negative entities. And the bigger you are within the universe, like the more attention you're going to draw, and they're going to try to stop you. So they try to stop me from healing the earth. They try to stop me from going to places, and they'll make me really sick or, whatever it is to try to prevent me from doing what I'm supposed to do. So you have to have that determination within yourself. Like, no, I'm pressing on. We're getting this done. You're not standing in my way, and just have that mind over matter. Like, no, this is me and I'm going to do what I want and you're not going to stop me.
Yeah. And that is something I think that's the hardest thing for people to do, right?
Yeah. It's very hard. Scared,
you don't know how to deal with. So here's an example that I've told to my psychics and all my mediums I've had on the show. So a few years ago, my daughter was going through some stuff. Okay. And what I noticed, there was dark energy in the house. Now, I'm not an empath. I'm nothing. I just could tell there's something going on. And I was sitting downstairs just watching TV. And right next to my ear, Raven, I heard a woman's voice call my name. She said, John. And I was like, okay, that's a little weird. And I was like, I looked around. There was nobody there. Also, when I would like fall asleep downstairs, I felt some people were like was watching me, right? Like I felt watched.
Yeah.
Also in the house, the energy was very dark. Like I said, just things were not right. Like I would get into arguments with my kids a lot. Things just tasted strange. All this other things, right? And the biggest thing was for me was I was sleeping on my couch downstairs. And I don't know if you've done this or people have done this. You know, when you're trying to wake somebody up and you might roll your fingers across their back or something like that or tap them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened, but I felt like
Mhm.
nails, like a
Yeah.
woman's nails digging
Yeah.
into me.
Did you
And
have a
there was
scratch?
something, no, I did not.
Okay.
However, it felt like it was trying to and it couldn't.
Okay.
And I was sitting there and something was telling me, don't turn around. Do
Yeah.
not turn around. So I
Yeah.
just sat there and then I waited and then I turned around and it was gone. Now, my daughter, we got her some therapy. We worked through some things at the school and everything like that. And then everything calmed down in the house. So if I was to tell you that, what would be your thoughts? What would you tell me, like, what probably happened in that? It was about a month's time.
Yeah. And so adolescents can be really tricky.
Yes.
Adolescents are the ones that do like bring up the most like PK manifestations, which turn into like poltergeist hauntings or craps flying around your
Right.
house. So all the angst that they're going through in puberty and trying to figure out life, and
Yeah.
then if they encounter something that has hurt them or traumatized them in any way, that adds on to it. So just that trying to figure life out and being in that kind of limbo and where do I fit into this, and like it makes you a target. Like I said, they're looking for anybody that's vulnerable in any way.
Mhm.
So, and yes, there are people that invite these things into their life. Like I can think of like Aleister Crowley, like he just went too far
Yeah.
with his
Yes.
paranormal stuff and then got taken over by the dark side. Not to reference Star
Absolutely. Yes.
Wars, but yeah. So
Yes.
there are people that actually invite this into their life. But most people are just being targeted, but they don't know that they are. And until it's
Mm,
too late and it's like, oh crap, we have a situation on our hands. So it's
mm.
not anything that your kiddo did to invite it. They were just in a vulnerable position, and it was like take the opportunity, and it did.
Yeah. And I felt really good about it because I felt I was strong enough that it could never, like I said, it tried to scratch me, whatever it was, it couldn't.
Yeah.
When it was whispering in my ear, I felt like it was trying to pull me somewhere. You know what I mean? Like trying to
Yeah.
take me somewhere, and I
Yeah.
didn't go. So I felt pretty good about that. So I gave myself a little pat on the back.
You're more of a medium than you think you are. So you should probably
Yeah.
unlock your gifts because you already have them.
Yes, and that's the second thing. What was really interesting to me, my mom, she passed away about 4 years ago. I told this to the mediums too, that I think my mom had a gift too, and this is just
Yeah.
me. So my mom would meet people, and she was not judgmental. She didn't see color. She didn't see whatever. She just
Yeah.
either she liked you, or she didn't kind of like you. You know what I mean?
Right.
But she was 100% right. She'd
Yeah.
meet someone, and she would always be like, "Nope."
Mm-hmm.
Like she would shake their hand and be like,
Yeah. I can
uh,
read people in
whether
5 seconds. Like, mm-mm.
yeah,
Yep. Nope.
girlfriends,
Yeah.
yeah, friends. She was never wrong, and
Yeah.
she passed the gift to me because I'll meet people and it will be like two magnets, right? You know
Yeah.
that experiment you do, and it just
Mm-hmm.
repels each other. I'll
Yeah.
meet somebody and just bam, we're just clicking, and I'll meet
Mm-hmm.
other people and it's like, zoom.
Yep.
It's like we just not. No matter
Yeah.
what I try to do, doesn't work.
Right.
So, like we were talking about, how would you tell someone like myself to unlock those gifts? Is there anything I can do? Meditation,
Yeah.
study? What would you
I
recommend?
put people through quantum meditation,
Oh,
and that
never.
helps unlock the mind. And you can actually tap into your subconscious and feel those gifts and like accept them and acknowledge them. If you're not
Mm,
acknowledging them, then they're just kind of staying dormant. As soon as you start to acknowledge them, but then you have to instantly know how to protect yourself and put the
mm,
barriers around you and
that's my problem.
all of that stuff. So
Yeah.
I teach people that like instantly. Like that's the first thing you need to practice is like we start with an energy bubble between your hands because energy flows just like electricity. So you could
Mhm.
feel the energy pumping between your two palms and you make an energy ball, and then you just start to expand it and put it around you and put it around your house and see how far you can stretch that with your
Oh,
mind. So when I I call it unfurling because I'm a raven. That's my animal. That's my totem. But I call it unfurling because I kind of unfurl my wings. So I literally have to. I call it stretching. I have to stretch. I have to like release and like stretch, and I could feel my energy go clear across the valley because I live in the mountains, but like clear across the valley, just like boom in this big like wave. So, and I can feel the things that I'm pissing off as I like travel across the valley. So
Yes.
that I just I have I have big energy, so I have to like stretch it out and let it like yeah.
I love that, Raven, because I think what you're doing for is not only good, but also with your mental health, as well as you're helping people, as well as helping the earth, which needs a lot of help, in my opinion. But that's a whole different podcast. And it's so much the better for everything. Now, something I've been looking at your website here, which I find absolutely fascinating. By the way, go to the website. She has some great articles on here and exercises. It is a cornucopia of great stuff. I absolutely love it. It's a big word I use there for you, Raven.
Yeah, we cover all topics.
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Topics.
So here's the thing. One of the articles, and please, I'm a mushmouth, so please help me out with pronunciation. The Syrians from A and B and C star constellation. Did I pronounce that name right?
So it's Sirius is the constellation, and it's the brightest star in the sky that we can see. So astronomers don't even recognize that there was a Sirius C, but there is, and there was, and it's a portal system. And the oldest tribe in Africa, which is the Dugons, they have it documented for thousands of years on cave drawings, this whole constellation with Sirius C. So I get in contact with that through like Akashic records and just communicating with universal beings to get the story. And then I can astral project. So I actually go there and like check it out. So yeah, that's what I said. I'm in everything. You'll hear all kinds of weird stuff come out of my mouth. But
I love it.
Yeah. So knowing a lot of history helps too. But yeah.
Okay. So here's my big question. I've interviewed 2 alien abductees over the past couple weeks. One has a good view, one has a bad view. What is your view of aliens, life on other planets? What is their agenda? I mean, they must have an agenda. They must have something they want for us, good or bad, or both.
Yeah. So it can be terrifying. Like, I'm very used to them and all the different races of beings that are out there. So because I've dug into my own story, I know all the systems that I came from, all the planets that I came from. And so I'm very used to them, and I communicate with them. And they're very helpful. They're very healing. They want you to succeed. They want, obviously to save the earth is their great mission. Earth needs to survive. So if you can't tell by now, the earth is fighting back from all the damage that we've done with like crazy storms and fires and, all of the things that are happening. So it's given its best fight back, but we need to help it. And so they're here to tell us how to help it and tell us how to help ourselves be better. And it can be very terrifying if you get abducted and you feel like, something has been experimenting on you. And like, I know a lot of women that have been pregnant and then all of a sudden they're not. And like my own child, when I was married, which I'll never do again, but we'll go there later. I lost her very early. I didn't even have a concept that I was pregnant, but then I miscarried. And so I was, all the symptoms of that, but she's a universal being, and that's where she was meant to be. So I understand that perfectly, but if you don't have an understanding and you don't know why something is doing what they're doing and the greater purpose of it, humans have a need to want to control everything. And if they can't have control, they want to like kill that whatever thing that's standing in their way.
Yeah.
So, and they have a tendency to be afraid of things that they don't understand instead of trying to understand it. So that's how I've helped abductees to try to understand why this happened to them and what the greater agenda was. And yeah.
But what about, and there has been proof of this, that aliens are here also to harm
Yes,
us.
they're here. There are bad aliens, and I call it getting trapped in their device. They have a device. I've got articles on my website about them. They're called the Draconians. They're a reptilian species, but not all reptilians are negative. Some of them are very helpful to people. So they have a device, and if you think about the tilt of Earth, it moves and it shifts, but there should be like a sword down the center, keeping us centered, but it's tilted too far, and that's because of this device. So this device and these beings carry with them the tiniest anger thought to like the worst thing you could think of a human doing, all the chaos in the world. And because I'm such a strong empath, they take me out like that. And I've been locked in their device and for days and had to fight my way out of it. So I'm lucky that I'm at least familiar with what that is and what they're trying to do, but it doesn't mean that it's easy for me to get out of. Like, they literally change your mindset, and like I will literally think I'm dying. I will think there's nothing here for me. Like, just the worst of the worst. So it's definitely not easy, and you have to fight it, and learn to rise above it, whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
because that's, if I was an alien, maybe I am. Maybe you don't know that.
Everybody is.
Well, yes, that one too. That's an interesting conversation. But that's the first thing you want to do: take all the empaths out. Take that. If I'm just talking bad. If that's the first thing you. But I also think, and I love government conspiracies, by the way. So just stay with me a second.
Our government.
I'm not tinfoil hat, Raven. I'm not that degree.
That would be awesome.
Close. I'm not a flat earther. I'm not. Hi, puppy. I'm not anything like that. But I do believe that the government is doing some things that, maybe shouldn't be doing, like MK Ultra. That was a big one that came out to be true, as well as other mind control things. But my main point would be, is I think the government would work, and this is you can go with truth or not, where with I believe it was Eisenhower. I always screw this up. Where Eisenhower met with an alien. I can't remember. I believe it was Eisenhower. Yes. Okay. Met with an alien, a gray, and basically they made a deal, and I can't remember the treaty name, but that is, I don't know if that's so true, but there are bases out there, Area 51, Dolce Base, all these other places, not to get off on this sidetrack, but, to me, that's what I would do as the government. I'd be like, okay, these empaths know too much, so we got to figure out a way to do it. Do you think at all that sometimes the government is like trying to do something, not only to you, but other empaths around the world, to kind of like, I don't know, discredit you, look like you're a fake, right? Make you look like you're
that's what they do.
Yeah.
It's, if anybody has Gaia, the app, and other places you can watch this too, but start with the show Unacknowledged. Dr. Stephen Greer, like, he has all kinds of classified documents that he's gotten that literally show it and prove it. And that's the sucky part about being a history nerd, is I just know too much about our government and the things that they've done. So, and I know like the truth about things. So I'm not a big fan of our government. They're just dirty dogs that make war for money, and
Absolutely.
use people as pawns, and
Yeah.
it's just not cool. I'm not proud of my country very much. I don't
No.
like
And
that kind of
but
thing.
it's not only us, it's other governments
Yeah.
too,
Yeah,
that
definitely.
they're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
They're all together.
Yes, it's a
Um,
collective. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's all this stuff put out there of all these groups meeting at certain times and discussing certain things.
Yeah.
But they're bigger things. They're not, to me, they're not like the price of your bread. To a certain
Right.
extent, yes. You go to the grocery store. Why are all the grocery store prices high? To a certain extent, yes and no. I mean,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about
There
bigger
is
things.
definitely a system to set up people to
Yeah,
fail, and it is a
yeah,
fact that our government infested like the Black Panthers with heroin. Our government infested
yeah.
all the ghettos with crack. They
Crack.
did
Yeah,
that. So
absolutely.
those things it's not fair. It's not fair to the people. It's just not cool. It like, and
Yeah.
anybody that lives a life like that and plays those games with people, like, they're not
Mm,
living a good life. You can't be like happy and
no.
fulfilled and feel peaceful when you're
Yeah,
doing those kinds of things.
absolutely. And I think one of the things is I always say that you guys are brave to do the things you're doing, just come out there. But let's be honest, a lot of people will not believe you, which is
Oh
kind of
yeah,
sad.
that's fine.
But
People aren't ready yet, and that's cool.
I love it. The only time I push back on mediums is sometimes life is so random, and
Hmm.
we're not gonna. This could be a whole new podcast, but like,
Yeah, I know,
there's
we can go
sometimes
all
where
day.
just random things have happened in my life, just completely random, just out of the blue. I don't know what it was. I tell my last medium I talked to for about 3 years, Raven, my life was completely shit. I mean,
Yeah.
everything that could go wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
I wasn't doing anything different. I felt I wasn't feeling negative. I wasn't. I mean, things like I
Yeah.
lost my job.
Yeah.
I got released. I got COVID.
Hmm.
I got into a car accident. I nearly got divorced. My kids hated me for some strange reason. Just one, bam, bam. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what? I
Right.
mean, like, what is going on? I'm not. It's not like I'm sitting out there like murdering people or like doing these
Right.
terrible things. And I remember one time I just broke down and I cried and I said, why are all these terrible things happening to me? Why is this happening to me? And
Yeah.
I have no idea. I have
Yeah.
no idea. And people who know me, I'm a very positive person. I'm also a
Yeah.
realist to a certain point. I'm not like, hey, happy days, rainbows,
Yeah.
and unicorns. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I'm like, okay, we can get through this. I'm a survivor. That's
Yeah.
one thing I feel I do better than a lot of people is I'm a survivor. Like, I've been through a lot of shit and I've survived it. I've come through the other end, right?
Yeah.
But it's fascinating to me, right? It's like you talked about future and how you can make it your best. And I'm like,
Right.
I don't know,
But they try to take you out of that mindset so that
Yeah.
you can't do that. And also, I mean, yes, you make your futures, but the universe is going to do its best to try to remind you of who you are and what you should be doing. So sometimes you need to burn down the house to rebuild it.
I
So
love
sometimes unfortunate events are trying to make you aware, and you need to rebuild.
I
So
love
you have to be like present and paying attention to those things and kind
I
of
love that.
acknowledge it, which it's hard to do when you're going through just a crap storm of shit and you're just like, make it stop, man. What the hell? Yeah.
Yeah, right? I love that. That's brilliant, Raven. That's something I will remember because that's something um I think too, not getting too much into mental health, but mental health is very important to me because I've lost people to suicide and everything I've talked about in the
And
podcast.
see, as a
Which,
medium, that's for whatever reason. I mean, I get other random spirits too, but
yeah,
I get suicides. So whether
mm,
people want to think I'm crazy or not, like I got Chester Bennington. That was a very hard one. He had a lot of pain. I
Wow.
got a trans girl that lived in the valley here that literally like hid in a bush and stepped out on the highway in front of a dump truck going 60 miles an hour and like blew herself apart to kill herself.
Oh,
I mean, these are people in extreme pain. And for whatever reason, that's what I get the most of as a medium.
that's
So,
that's
yeah.
that's rough. And it's interesting. Um, when my friend committed suicide, he was in a ton of pain. He had just all these mental health things going on, and he tried everything. He literally tried everything. And my friends and I, we would argue about, that we felt it wasn't fair he did this, and I kept telling him it's not about us, man. It's about
Yeah,
him.
it's
And
not.
I
Yeah.
tried my best, and I cried, and I went through a deep emotion, and I didn't go to the psychic, but the mother of my friend, she went, and the psychic was like, I know this is really hard. I know this is really hard to deal with, but he was going through a lot of pain, and you know that. And she kind of settled, her
Yeah.
the mom down and everything, because she was just looking for answers.
Yeah.
What do you do when people come to you like that, and like myself, who have seen a loved one and they committed suicide, and you're like, how do I handle this, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How do you do that?
So, I obviously open communication with
Yeah.
that spirit,
Mm-hmm.
that person, and relay that communication to
Mm-hmm.
those people. And you have to be very blunt no matter what it is. You have to be truthful and just put it out there. So whether you're afraid of being believed or they're not going to receive it well, because that's the information they need to hear. It's tough information. And you need to put it gently and explain this person's story and what they went through and why they just didn't want to be here anymore. And it's not a sin, and they're not going to hell. These are people that went through a lot of pain, and they can get trapped in that pain and trapped here in that pain. And so you have to help them move on and move on to their next life, the next thing, and not get stuck on it and still live in that pain, because that can be just like people that are still living that are suicidal. They get trapped in that pain, and you have to help them release that and understand that you can move on and you don't have to be stuck here.
Yeah, I love that. Have you ever worked on any paranormal investigation teams, or do you work on any presently?
No, I don't really like what they do, because they just go in and stir the pot and make things worse. And as a medium, I'm here to clean shit up and not leave it like that. So I like the paranormal teams. If you've ever watched like Amy Bruni and Adam, what's his bucket? I can't remember his last name, but they actually go in and heal the place and help the people move on and communicate with them and find out what's going on and who you are and why are you still here, and get those answers. Instead of like most paranormal teams, they just come in with all their gear and see how much crap they can stir up to get it on video and then leave the place. Like, you're not helping anything at all. You're making it worse.
Interesting. That's interesting to me. That would be something like we talked about. I loved it, like I said, have you on the round table, because I do have a medium who is part of a investigation team, and I'm curious what she would say. That'd be a fun discussion to go through.
I would love that.
Because I agree with you. I agree with you, and I agree with her. What she's doing, I think she's doing it in the right way. Like you said, she's trying to help. She's trying to make this place better, rather than let's get the demon out of the closet and take a picture of it. Right.
Right. It's like, let's see how much crap we can stir up just for content, and then they leave, and it's like, you just like made everything 10 times worse, and the poor people, spirits that are stuck there, now they're tormented. Like, good going. What the heck? Yeah,
that's why I'm one of the topics we discussed is two topics. One is Ed and Lorraine Warren, come
Yeah,
on, man. I mean, people, they're
they're
total
fake.
fakes, and I don't know
Yeah.
why people just. I mean,
They
they've made
made a lot of money
millions.
off of other people and never gave them a
Yeah,
dime. Yeah.
right. They're terrible people. And
Yeah.
I think Lorraine Warren, I think she got sucked into it. Maybe this is
Hmm.
me. I think she got sucked into it, and she was like, at first, I want to help people, and then I'm making a lot of money by saying there's all these
Yeah.
demons running around, and
Yeah.
right? I don't
Yeah.
know.
I know their
That's a whole.
son, John Zaffis, and he's a good guy and
Mm,
actually tries to help. So, he didn't go down that path. He does have a place where he stores haunted items, just like they
mm,
did, but it's not for display and it's not for the public. It's literally to keep people safe. So he has
yeah,
a totally different mindset than his
nice.
parents did. Yeah.
I love that. That's something we can discuss later. The other one is the Satanic Panic.
God,
That one, unbelievable how that happened to
that,
people.
yeah, that
It's
whole thing
unbelievable,
was just
right?
a witch hunt. And
Yeah,
it got like three young boys. If you've ever read or watched
yeah.
a show on the West Memphis Three,
That's
they
Memphis
were
3.
different. They listened to metal. Like these hicks in Arkansas couldn't understand these boys, and
Yep,
so it's like just blame it on
yeah,
them. And it's
yeah,
like, what is wrong with you? Like, and then they brought it up in court, and I'm like, how is this even admissible in court? Like, what are you
yeah,
talking about? Yeah.
yeah. Right.
And
There,
true
if there was
Satanists, by the way, don't have anything to
no,
do with any of that. They
absolutely
acknowledge
not.
Lucifer and they believe that he was God's son, but wanted to make sure that everybody was saved instead of God's
Yeah,
plan. And so they aren't even like that. So they're a little
yeah,
off when you talk to them. You're like, and you could kind of feel it because they do border like right there on the dark side and have to be careful.
yeah,
But they don't
yeah,
even they don't do any of that crap. They aren't out butchering
no,
cats in the woods and crap.
yeah,
Like this
yeah.
is
They're
just
not
evil people
killing
doing
babies in
evil
the
things.
basement. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right, right. Yeah, and it's ridiculous. I mean, it's and I had a Satanist a long time ago, and she was the sweetest person ever.
Yeah.
She actually Lilith was one of her person.
I've seen
She
Lilith a
yeah,
couple times. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So it depends how you, but she was never like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, blah blah blah. No, she's just like, she said I was strange, I was weird. She was in the Netherlands, by the way. I believe she's in
Hmm.
Finland or Norway. Can't remember which one, but anyway, she's Scandinavian. And she talked about how she felt weird and strange, and then when she started to do this and do it in, I guess, the right way, for lack of a better
Yeah.
word, um, she felt stronger. And now
Yeah.
she's a mom. She's got a
Yeah.
kid. She's married, and she has a very nice life. And she's a very nice woman.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Every Satanist I've been around, they're just like super mellow, super chill, like the nicest people
Yeah,
ever. It's not at all the way all of
yeah,
that was
yeah,
depicted at all. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And like you said, some might throw you a little bit of a curveball, and you might be
Yeah.
like, okay,
Right. Yeah. But that's okay. They're just doing their
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. So one of the things too, just really quickly before we wrap up here, we're not going to go through every one because there's 32 of them, but like the 32 sacred symbols,
Yeah.
um, that's really interesting to me. Can you guys do? Or this is why I'll have to have you back on because I'm getting to half the things I want to get
Yeah.
to. But like 32 sacred symbols, what do you mean by that? I'm just kind of curious because symbols are very interesting to a lot of people.
Yeah. And those are symbols that are literally like in pictographs and cave paintings, drawings, etchings, whatever. They're all over the world. So people need to understand that our ancient world was not on technology. Like they were very technological, they were very high advanced. They knew about all of these things and how to make them work. The Great Pyramid is a power center. The Queen's Chamber lines up to Sirius, the star constellation. Like, yes, it's lined up to Orion's belt, but there are hot spots all around the world and they're connected by ley lines. So you have to understand all of that. And if you start to put all of these symbols together, it can look like Metatron's cube, which is all of the sacred geometry symbols. And I call on Metatron a lot to wrap his cube around me when I feel like I'm being attacked or I'm in danger or whatever it is. So they could definitely be used to your advantage, and they make frequencies, they open portals. So to know what each symbol does and what it means is a great benefit to people.
Yeah. And I love that, because we all see symbols, we all see signs in our life that make us feel better, or sometimes, like, I'm a little superstitious. Not that I'm like super superstitious, but I'm like, like, I have a black dog, and am I supposed to have a black dog? It's fine. We're good. We have 2 black cats. We're good.
I love the kitty cat.
I don't step on a crack. I don't step on a crack and freak out. You know what I mean? But I am superstitious about certain things about time.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Why do you think I'm superstitious about time? When I see the number 13, it makes me feel a little weird. Like when I see like 113 or 213. I've
got it on my arm. Right there.
Why do you think I feel that way? Why do you think I feel that way? Why
you
time?
Probably have time slips, and that's where you get transported to another place in time. And I have them all the time too. And when I come back in my body, I'm very like disoriented and like, where am I? And it like takes a while to like, okay, now I'm back home. And it kind of shakes you up when you're not used to it. But if you're going through time slips, especially when you're dreaming, that's when it happens a lot, because your mind is more relaxed. It can really disarm you. So you might have an aversion to time. Yeah.
That's I love that, because you know why? I hate watches. People buy me watches. I can't wear a watch. Seriously, Raven. I've people bought me Christmas gifts, really nice watches, right?
Yeah.
Because when I'm in sales, but anyway, sales, and my mom would buy me a watch. My buddies bought me a really nice watch, and I'm like, no, take it back. And they're like, well, why? Don't you like it? And I'm like, no, I cannot wear watches, just cannot. I put a watch on, it freaks me out. I just can't do it.
Yeah. Do you remember your dreams?
Sometimes. I did have a dream really quickly that I totally remember to this day. And I talked to a sleep paralysis expert, and she was saying sleep paralysis. That's really interesting. So
Willie, quit yanking everything off of me.
That's all right.
No barking. I'll squirt you in the butt. You too. Sorry, I got 3 crazy critters going on here.
Oh, that's all right. This makes it more fun. People think we have a little like zoo going on or something. But anyway, my dream I had was that I was sleeping, and then I was like paralyzed. And when I turned around, I saw this black mist lowering on top of me. And lower it got, I could see a face of like this haggard woman. Like, the standard old kind of cliche haggard witch, And whatever I did was to this day, I don't know how this happened, but I used all my strength, and I turned on the side before she could fully lower herself. And when I turned to the side, Raven, I started speaking Latin. I don't know Latin. I've never really been, I've seen it, but whatever. But I was like, like this weird thing. And when I said that, like a shockwave came out of my body, and I heard, I swear to God, or whatever you want to say, like someone falling in the kitchen. Like, how you would trip and you hear this boo, 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 boo.
Yeah.
And I heard that, right? So my wife, who hears a mouse fart, was not awakened. She kept sleeping through it. I did the dumb horror movie cliche. I got up and went to the kitchen. In the middle of the kitchen, this was around Halloween time. In the middle of the kitchen was a doll of a witch that my wife had picked up at a like a Saint like a Goodwill. We call it St. Vincent's here. In other words, whatever, thrift shop.
Yeah.
And ever since that was in the house, I always felt it was weird, like there's something off. But anyway, it was in the middle of the floor,
Object.
like it had been thrown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And anyway, I was like, I'm not touching it. I just came near it and I said, I'm not touching it. I'm not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
And here's the weird thing out of all of this is I talked to my wife about it and she's like, yeah, I didn't feel you, whatever. I don't know what's going on. But to this day, my wife won't put that witch doll up. Every Halloween we decorate.
Yeah, I would get it out of your house completely. I wouldn't even own that thing anymore.
I'll ask her. But so do you think there was something, do you really believe there was something in there that caused this?
Yeah.
It was just really interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. And there's like even the Romans that wanted to act like they were so much better than these savages that they went after in Europe, these tribes and everything. They would have like lead boxes that they would put curses into and bury them to try to bring the downfall of these people. So curses are very real, and objects could definitely be haunted and have something injected into them. And anything can hold energy because everything has energy.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wow, this is boy, I could talk to you for hours, Raven. I wish
I know. We need to do this again. Got to talk some more.
I love this. I haven't gotten to half the things I wanted to get to. And like I said, that round table I'll definitely share with you because I'd love to have you on that and love to have your opinion on different things. But please tell my spooky friends what you got coming up. Tell them about their site. Like, how much does it cost to have a reading with you? How do they do that? All that great stuff, if you could tell them.
So it's listed on my site. It's $200. And if people are like, oh, why is this so expensive? I spend a lot of time on my readings and make sure that you have like a nice fancy PDF and things you can reference. I'm just not spewing things out and then you forget later. I put a lot of work and effort into it to make it very professional and all of that stuff. So it's $200 and that's pretty much the price. Reiki sessions are different. Those are $60, but those are live. I could also do them online because I can remote view, but most people like Reiki sessions to be like in person, like one-on-one, and like feel that person clearing them and stuff. I could do anything remotely. So like there are some things that people just prefer live in front of you, but yeah. And I get all of everything about you before I even meet the person, before I even talk to them, and I have their complete reading done before we've even spoken a word, or I asked for one little picture of them because it's just my thing. I need to see people's faces. I want to see their eyes. So I asked for nothing in the background. I don't want to see what your house looks like. I don't want to see who's standing with you. Just like center in on your face. And so it's all done before I even talk to them.
I love that.
Yeah.
Also, I see you have some art that is very interesting, and I love it. How do you go about doing that? It's just something you just paint and just put out there just for whatever reason?
Everything I do is like, sadly, it's a lot more sacred feminine. All of my art, I do draw men sometimes, but they're more like Native Americans or tribal people from Africa, people that are like connected with the earth and the things. So not to like bash men, but you're kind of uninteresting on the emotional level.
Hey!
You don't go very deep, most men. Hey! So that it's kind of boring to paint. So a lot of it's like Mother Nature and those kind of things that I paint, but it's all like earthy and spiritual, and I don't have any training in art, so it's just like there. It's obviously from another life that I have this skill, but yeah.
I love it. It's beautiful, the gorgeous paintings. It's raw, and that's what, I don't know. To me, that's the way art should be. It shouldn't be like manufactured and marketed. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's a whole different. No, that's a whole nother podcast. I got like a whole bunch of podcasts I'm doing here, I guess.
When people buy my pieces, like I infuse them with like good energy to bring your house up, and like, yeah.
I love it. And when this episode comes out, if you can infuse it with good energy and stuff, so I can reach as many people as I can. And get you out, get your name out. I would love that too. So thank you so much. I love seeing your puppies. As well as I love your attitude, Raven. You know, I definitely want to have you on again because, like I said, I haven't got half the stuff, but we'll talk about the roundtable. Speaking of roundtables, so what I'm going to be doing here in Spooktober, really quickly, is I'm going to have roundtables. I'm going to have a live roundtable where they're going to have I'm first going to have some paranormal investigators, and I'm going to have some couples on. And we're going to have some fun with that and them talking. They're all over the United States and they're going to be in Canada. They're going to talk about their experiences. Then my second roundtable I want to have is with mediums and empaths. And I want them to talk about, again, we're going to talk about different things. And maybe if I can convince them, one of them, to maybe do a reading on me, or maybe we can figure something out, you know, to help me get my skills out. I think that'd be a lot of fun to do if I can convince them to do that. If not, I'm not worried about it because we have so much other things we can talk about. And then also, I'm going to do some other roundtables that I haven't come up with yet because I really want people to understand that not only is everyone I have on this show, which are all my friends now, they are great people and they're here to help and they're willing to help any way they can, and it costs just $200. Hey, good luck, you know, trying to find someone to do that for you. What Raven can do, yeah, they'll probably take your money. I don't want to be all bad about other people, but I know Raven's going to do everything she can to try to help you. And to me, that's what we need to do too. And not only make yourself better, but also make this world better so we all can enjoy it. So anything else to add, Raven, before we wrap it up here?
Just stay positive and go search yourself and introspect because it's just so necessary for you to put yourself first so that you can actually help other people. So that's just a really important lesson for people to learn.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, you know, just be kind, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind to one another. Because at the end of the day,
you never know what somebody's going through. You never know. Yeah. Yeah,
you never know. And, you know, again, reach out to that person, help that person you can any way you can. And if not, refer them to Raven or a therapist or somebody else to try to get a good mental attitude because we all benefit in the end. So, Raven, thank you so much. This has just blown my mind. It's been amazing, and I'm like I said, I'm so blessed to have you on my podcast. And like I said, I will follow up later, and hopefully we'll get something.
Thanks. This is gonna be awesome.
All right, thanks, Raven.
Okay, have a good one.
Yeah, say hi to the puppies too. Bye-bye, Al.
Bye, guys.